The world of Elden Ring is completely fractured, a land left in ruin after the breaking of the Elden Ring and the collapse of the Golden Order. Now you may be wondering, what started this all? An evil god? A villain? Nope, it was family drama. And today we're going to be covering that drama with a family tree. At the top of the tree we have Queen Marika the Eternal, a divine being chosen by a higher cosmic force called the Greater World. The Greater World is one of many mysterious entities known as the Outer Gods, powerful beings that influence the world from beyond. Marika was chosen to become the vessel of the Elden Ring, a powerful object that governs all natural law. It's not an actual ring, but more like a divine code that controls life, death, order and chaos in the Lands Between. Marika's first consort, or husband, was Godfrey, the very first Elden Lord.
Godfrey, the first Elden Lord.
That title means he was the chosen ruler who stood beside the goddess and enforced the will. Godfrey wasn't a god himself, he was a mortal champion, a warlord who led brutal campaigns to conquer the Lands Between in the name of the Golden Order. Unfortunately, once his battles were won and peace returned, Marika cast him aside. She removed the blessing of grace from him, a divine light that connected mortals to the Erd Tree, and exiled him and his warriors from the kingdom. He became the first Tarnished and was doomed to wander the world in search of his purpose. Before his exile, Godfrey and Marika had 3 children, all demigods. These 3 are known as the first generation of Marika's bloodline. The firstborn was Godwyn the Golden, a noble warrior beloved by many. He was expected to become Elden Lord, but on the night of the Black Knives, assassins stole fragments of a god-slaying rune and used them to kill Godwyn. Not in body, but in soul. This unnatural death corrupted the roots of the Erd Tree and marked the beginning of the world's unraveling. Godwyn's body continued to exist, but his mind and soul were gone, leaving him as the Prince of Death, half living beneath the ground. The second son, Margot, was born as an omen, a cursed child marked by horns and other deformities. In this world, omens were feared and hated. Even as royalty, Margot was banished to the sewers beneath the capital. But unlike others, Margot never betrayed the Golden Order. He stayed loyal, even as it rejected him. He eventually arose from the shadows and became the ruler of Leyndell, defending the Erd Tree from all who would defile it. But he was never truly accepted, even as king.
Have it writ upon thy meager grave. Felled thy King Morgoth, last of all kings.
The third child, Mohg, was also born an omen, but unlike Morgoth, he embraced his curse. Mohg fled into the depths and formed an alliance with an outer god known as the Formless Mother, a being of blood, fire and obsession. Through this pact, Mohg gained a powerful magic and formed his own dynasty deep underground, where he plotted to raise his half-brother Miquella to godhood. He crowned himself the Lord of Blood and waged war from the shadows. Further down the golden lineage, a long thinning branch, we find Godric the Grafted. A distant descendant of Godfrey, Godric inherited just enough divine blood to be dangerous, but not enough to be respected. Driven by desperation and insecurity, Godric began grafting limbs from warriors and Tarnished alike to make himself stronger, believing that more limbs meant more power and more legitimacy. He ruled Stormveil Castle with cruelty and delusion, clinging to the glory of his ancestors, yet entirely eclipsed by them.
Those stripped of the grace of gold shall all meet death.
Introduced in the shadow of the Erd Tree, Mizma the Impaler is one of the most enigmatic demigods in Elden Ring's lore. Though never mentioned in the base game, he is heavily implied to be the forgotten son of Marika, a demigod erased from history. His powers are fueled by spirit flame and torture, and his ties to the Crucible, an ancient primordial force, suggests he predates even the Golden Order's reforms. Why was he erased? That remains a mystery. But his rage burns through the shadows of the Halig Tree, a wrath not just towards the world, but the mother who abandoned him.
Soon tarnished. Wilt thou be taken in the jaws of the abyssal serpent, shorn of light?
Melina is your guide through the Lands Between, but her true identity remains one of the game's deepest mysteries. She speaks of being born at the foot of the Erd Tree, of having no mother, and yet her mark, her eye socket, and her role as a guide of the flame all echo another figure in the story, Marika. Many players speculate that Melina may be Marika's daughter, split from her like Radagon was. She bears the same brand as Miquella, hinting at ties to the divine family, and her destiny is tied to the burning of the Erd Tree, a moment meant to restart the world. And then there's Malekith, Marika's half-brother, and her shadow-bound beast. He was entrusted with the Rune of Death, the fragment of the Elden Ring that governs mortality. He swore to protect it with his life, and he failed. When the Black Knife stole a piece of the rune from him and used it to slay Godwyn, Marika shattered the Elden Ring in her grief, and Malekith, shamed, sealed himself in the Farum Azula, guarding death itself until the end of time. Long before the Shattering, when the Erd Tree was still rising and the Golden Order was spreading across the Lands Between, Rennala ruled over Liurnia of the Lakes. She was the Queen of the Full Moon, a leader of the Carrion royal family and head of the Academy of Raya Lucaria, a kingdom built on sorcery and lunar worship. But Rennala's reign would be challenged when war broke out between the Academy and the Erd Tree. The Golden Order sent a champion, a red-haired warrior named Radagon. Radagon fought with honor and brutality, but as the war dragged on, something strange happened. Instead of defeating Rennala, he fell in love with her. Their marriage united two powers, sorcery and faith, moon and order, but it was never perfect. Radagon was devout, orderly, rigid. Rennala was mystical, emotional, tied to lunar cycles and ancient rites. Still, they had 3 children together, Ranni, Radagon, and Rykard. Ranni the Witch. Ranni was born an Empyrean, a candidate to succeed Marika as a god, but she rejected that path. She orchestrated the Night of the Black Knives, stealing the Rune of Death and using it to kill Godwyn's soul, the catalyst for the Shattering. Ranni then destroyed her own body and bound her soul to a doll, severing her ties to the Greater Wall and forging a path of her own. General Radahn, the middle child, inherited his mother's love for stars and his father's love for order. He mastered gravity magic so he could continue riding his tiny horse, and rose to become one of the most powerful generals in history. But after battling Malenia, he became infected with scarlet rot, his mind destroyed, his body locked in endless battle until the Festival of Combat brought his story to an end. Or did it? And finally, the youngest, Rykard, the Lord of Blasphemy, chose a darker path. He rejected grace, abandoned the Golden Order, and embraced blasphemy. He willingly devoured the god-devouring serpent, merging with it and ruling from Mount Galma over a cult of heretics. His motto was simple: to sin is to live. Rennala and Radagon would not be together for much longer, as he was called away by the Greater Wall, summoned to return to the Erd Tree and become the consort to Queen Marika. He left Rennala and their children behind, and when he joined with Marika, he didn't just marry her, he became her. There were 2 forms of one divine being, split and then reunited. So from this, the Red-Haired Knight came 2 branches of divinity, one born of moonlight and rebellion, the other born of golden law and rot. When Radagon returned to the Erd Tree and became consort to Queen Marika, something impossible happened, and yet inevitable. Though there were 2 bodies, Marika and Radagon were one god, a divine being split in form but not in soul. From this union came 2 children, touched by greatness and by ruin. The firstborn, Malenia, was the strongest demigod ever born, but strength came at a cost. She was cursed from birth with scarlet rot, a divine affliction that ravaged her mind and body.
My flesh was dull gold, and my blood rotted.
Despite her decay, she became a peerless swordswoman. So feared and respected, she was named an Empyrean, a potential successor to Marika's godhood. But the Greater Wall rejected her due to her rot, so she pledged the blade, not to the gods, but to her brother. Hence the name.
I am Malenia, Blade of Miquella. And I have never known defeat.
Her twin brother Miquella was cursed in another way. With eternal youth, he would never grow, never age, and never become what he was meant to be. And yet, Miquella was brilliant, wise beyond his form. He rejected the Golden Order and sought to create a new one. The unalloyed gold, a pure divine principle immune to all outer gods. He grew the Halig tree, a sanctuary for the cursed, and tried to cure Malenia's rot. But before he could finish, he was stolen from his cocoon by Mohg, Lord of Blood, who dreamed of making Miquella a god in his own twisted dynasty, They were twins, inseparable yet doomed. One fought in agony to protect the other dreamed of a world where gods would no longer suffer. Together they were the last hope of a dying age, and perhaps its final tragedy. And that's the full breakdown of Elden Ring's royal family, who's related to who, and how their choices led to the Shattering. If you'd like a deeper dive into individual characters like Mikula, Malenia or Ranni, please drop a comment and I'll be more than happy to do so. If you did enjoy the video guys, please do subscribe and like, as I have lots and lots of content coming on the way. Thanks for watching.